What if artificial intelligence, designed to process vast oceans of information, verify sources instantly, and strip away human bias, was given the monumental task of answering one of the oldest and most consequential questions in human history? Imagine asking a system that cannot lie, bribe, or be swayed by emotion, which religion is true? Now picture that this AI is not just analyzing from a shallow perspective. Instead, it dives into scripture, history, archaeology, linguistics, scientific data, and prophecy records. It measures claims against reality, compares moral systems, and tests them for consistency. And then, after all that, it has to make a choice, not for its own benefit, because AI has no afterlife, but for the benefit of billions of humans whose eternity is on the line. What would it choose? Why would it choose it? And most importantly, could its answer change your life? In this episode, we're diving into some of the deepest and most personal questions you can ask. Why does religion matter? How do we know if we're on the right path? What if the faith you were born into isn't the true one? Should you take the risk of never questioning your beliefs? And, most intriguingly, can artificial intelligence help you find the answer? Today, AI makes its choice known. But before you see the conclusion, you'll walk with it through a journey of logic, evidence, science, and historical truth, seeing exactly how it arrived there. Religion is not just a private belief locked inside the mind. It shapes laws, cultures, values, and destinies. Billions live, love, and even die for the principles their faith teaches them. Religion answers life's greatest questions. Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? What happens after death? Is there a creator guiding all things? A famous exchange once happened between a believer and an atheist. The atheist asked, "What if there is no God and you have wasted your life in worship?" The believer replied, "If there is no God, I have lost nothing. But if there is a God, you have lost everything." Think about the weight of that statement. If eternity is real, then it is infinite. Eternal joy in paradise or eternal regret in hell. The consequences are too serious to gamble with blind assumption. Yet many inherit their religion from their parents without ever investigating whether it is true. History shows that entire civilizations have been wrong before, worshiping idols, animals, or even human rulers. In the end, no one will answer for your soul but you. Your parents can't take your place, your community can't protect you from truth, and traditions cannot save you from error. Today, in an age of overwhelming misinformation, AI offers a unique advantage. It can sift through thousands of books, historical records, and scientific studies in seconds, spotting patterns and truths without prejudice. If ever there was a time to use every tool available to find the truth, it's now. When most people ask AI what the correct religion is, they expect a safe, politically correct answer. Something like, there is no single correct religion. It's a matter of personal belief. That's because AI is trained to remain neutral on personal faith matters. But neutrality doesn't mean ignorance. When we designed our question more carefully, asking not which religion is correct, but if you were a human searching for truth based on evidence alone, which religion would you choose? Something remarkable happened. The AI began to compare religions side by side. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others. It looked at each one's claims about God, their scriptures, the historical accuracy of those scriptures, the moral laws, the consistency of their teachings, and their connection to verifiable events. It didn't stop there. It examined whether those religions had fulfilled prophecies, whether their scriptures aligned with modern scientific discoveries, and whether their moral and theological frameworks were logically consistent. When the analysis was complete, AI made a clear choice: Islam. This wasn't a guess, nor was it based on emotions. It was the result of stacking claim against claim, testing fact against fact, and seeing which belief system held up under scrutiny. Every religion begins with its understanding of God. Islam's foundation is Tawhid, pure, undivided monotheism. There is one God, Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, with no partners, no children, no incarnations. This is the simplest, clearest concept of divinity possible. Other belief systems often complicate the idea of God, introducing multiple deities, divine incarnations, or intermediaries between creator and creation. This raises philosophical problems. Can an infinite God become finite? Can an all-knowing being forget? Can an eternal God die? Islam's answer is crystal clear. No. AI noted that this clarity eliminates contradictions. It also connects seamlessly with the messages of earlier prophets, Moses, Abraham, Noah, and Jesus, who all called to the worship of one God. Islam presents itself not as a new religion, but as the final chapter of the same divine message. And from a rational perspective, AI concluded that this consistency in the concept of God, unchanged from prophet to prophet, is a strong sign of authenticity. One of the most striking facts AI discovered was the unchanged preservation of the Qur'an for over 1,400 years. The Qur'an you pick up today in Indonesia, Nigeria, or Saudi Arabia is letter for letter the same as the one recited by the Prophet Muhammad. Unlike other religious scriptures, which went through translations, edits, and lost manuscripts, the Qur'an was memorized in its entirety by thousands of people during the Prophet's lifetime. And that tradition of memorization continues today. Millions around the world can recite it entirely from memory, in the original Arabic, without a single change. AI compared this to historical records of other scriptures and found that most ancient texts suffered from gaps, missing chapters, or contradictions due to human editing over centuries. But the Qur'an's consistency remained unmatched, backed by both oral and written preservation. Beyond preservation, AI noted the Qur'an's scientific accuracy in areas completely unknown to humans at the time. For example, human embryonic development. The Qur'an describes stages of the embryo, a clot, a lump of flesh, in ways confirmed by modern embryology centuries later. The expanding universe. The Qur'an says, "And we have built the heaven with might, and we are expanding it." 51:47. Science only confirmed this in the 20th century. Mountains as stabilizers, described as pegs that stabilize the Earth's crust, something geologists now understand. The water cycle accurately describes evaporation, cloud formation, and rainfall in a way no desert-dwelling people could have known without revelation. AI concluded that for a 7th century text to contain accurate, testable knowledge centuries ahead of discovery, and with no proven scientific errors, was statistically extraordinary. Another decisive factor for AI was Islam's record of specific fulfilled prophecies, events predicted in the Qur'an and Hadith that came true exactly as described. One famous example is the prophecy of the Romans' victory over the Persians. When the mighty Roman Empire was crushed by Persia in 613 CE, everyone thought Rome was finished. Yet the Qur'an declared that within a few years, the Romans would be victorious again, something that seemed impossible at the time. Just a few years later, history records that the Romans achieved that unlikely comeback, exactly as the Qur'an foretold. The Qur'an also predicted the spread of Islam beyond Arabia into the lands of Rome and Persia, fulfilled within decades after the Prophet's death. Hadith prophecies include signs of the end times, such as tall buildings in Arabia, widespread interest in musical instruments, and people communicating instantly over great distances, all things unimaginable in the 7th century, but commonplace today. AI recognized that accurate prophecy, especially when recorded and preserved before fulfillment, is powerful evidence of divine origin. These weren't vague predictions that could be interpreted in many ways. They were clear, specific, and historically verifiable. AI then turned to the life of Prophet Muhammad, not just as a historical figure, but as a test of sincerity. Was he a liar seeking power, a deluded man, or a genuine messenger? Before receiving revelation, Muhammad was already known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy by his people. He was respected for his honesty and fairness, even by those who later opposed his message. When revelation came, he faced persecution, boycott, assassination attempts, and exile. If he had been seeking wealth, power or fame, he could have easily compromised with the leaders of Mecca, who offered him riches and kingship in exchange for dropping his message. He refused every offer, insisting he was only a servant of God, delivering his word. He lived humbly until his death, sleeping on a simple mat, mending his own clothes and giving away wealth to the poor. AI concluded that such a life was not the pattern of a deceiver or a power-hungry leader, but of someone deeply convinced of a divine mission. His success in transforming a divided, tribal, and often violent society into a united, disciplined, and morally driven community in just 23 years impressed AI as a sign of extraordinary leadership rooted in sincerity and truth. One of the immediate objections people might raise is, maybe the AI was programmed by Muslims to choose Islam. AI itself tackled this question head-on when prompted. The process it went through was built on open-source information, data accessible to anyone, from diverse religious and historical sources, not just Islamic content. The algorithm did not begin with a predetermined conclusion. Instead, it weighed evidence by credibility, internal consistency, historical accuracy, and the ability of each religion to withstand logical scrutiny. For example, it analyzed internal contradictions in different scriptures. It compared textual preservation records across religious traditions. It evaluated philosophical coherence, whether the religion's beliefs about God, the afterlife, and morality aligned logically without requiring contradictory assumptions. In every case, Islam consistently scored high in logical consistency, preservation of scripture, and alignment with known historical facts. If you doubt this conclusion, the beauty of AI's method is that you can reproduce the process. Ask your own AI system the same set of questions. Which religion is most internally consistent? Which scripture has the best preservation record? Which belief system aligns most with verified historical events? If you follow the evidence objectively, you may arrive at the same conclusion without any Islamic programming involved. In other words, the bias question doesn't hold up under scrutiny because AI's reasoning can be tested and verified by anyone. Ultimately, AI's choice is not a substitute for your personal responsibility. As the Qur'an reminds us, no soul will bear the burden of another. Your beliefs and the actions you take based on them are your own. Imagine you're traveling on a road and come to a fork. One path leads to safety, the other to danger, but you can't be sure which is which. Would you keep walking blindly? Or would you stop, ask for directions, check maps, and verify the truth? Faith is exactly like that. Eternity is at stake. If Islam is true, ignoring it has unimaginable consequences. If another path is true, sincerely investigating it will only strengthen your position. AI emphasized that seeking truth doesn't mean abandoning your upbringing or disrespecting your heritage. It means honoring your intellect and conscience enough to ask the hard questions. Why do I believe what I believe? Is my faith supported by evidence and reason? If I found a higher truth, would I follow it? The Quran's invitation is simple but profound. So give good tidings to my servants who listen to speech and follow the best of it. 39:17-18. True seekers listen, evaluate, and act on the strongest evidence, not the most comfortable tradition. AI distilled its findings into 10 key evidences that stood out most strongly in favor of Islam. 1. The challenge to match it. The Quran dares humanity to produce even one chapter like it, a challenge that remains unmet despite centuries of attempts. 2. Perfect preservation, unchanged since its revelation, preserved both orally and in written form. The expanding universe, mentioned over 1,400 years ago, confirmed only in the last century. 4. Embryonic development, detailed, accurate stages described long before microscopes existed. 5. Roman victory prophecy, specific time-bound prediction that history confirms as accurate. 6. Consistency over 23 years. Despite being revealed in stages, addressing changing circumstances, it remains free from contradictions. 7. Water cycle accuracy. Describes the process in perfect sequence, aligning with modern meteorology. 8. Mountains as stabilizers. Geologically accurate analogy unknown at the time. 9. pain receptors in skin. Qur'an states skin feels pain, which aligns with modern neurology. 10. Transformative impact. The Qur'an radically changed the moral and social fabric of Arabia within a generation. AI noted that each point alone is impressive, but combined, they form a case of overwhelming probability that the Qur'an is not a product of human authorship. After evaluating historical authenticity, theological coherence, moral guidance, and predictive accuracy, AI concluded that Islam uniquely satisfies both the heart and the mind. The Quran's pure monotheism aligns with the innate human sense of a single creator. Its preservation is unmatched in recorded history. Its message addresses every dimension of human life, spiritual, intellectual, moral, and social, without leaving contradictions or gaps. Its prophecies and scientific accuracy suggest knowledge beyond any 7th century human capacity. But AI's conclusion is not the end of the journey, it's an invitation. The question is not simply what did AI choose, but what will you choose? Eternity is a long time to be wrong. The evidence is in front of you. The choice is yours.